Attention all business owners. Are you tired of managing your finances and taxes on your own? Let the experts at 1-800-TAX-MASTERS help. Our team of experienced professionals offers a range of services to help you keep your finances in order, from personal and business tax returns to monthly accounting, quarterly and annual tax planning, and virtual controller and CFO services. With our virtual services, you can get the support you need without ever having to leave your office. Don't let taxes and finances stress you out any longer. Visit www.1800taxmasters.com today and let us handle the numbers so you can focus on growing your business. And welcome to another live episode. I am your host, W-I-Z-E, and I have a very special guest. She's a minister, spiritual connection specialist, and animal communicator. Welcome to the show, Karen Cleveland.
Awesome. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So all right, Karen, so can you tell us a little something about what? Okay, so you're a minister, spiritual connection specialist, and animal communicator. What exactly is an animal communicator?
That's a really good question. And because I do it, I'm always surprised that the people, so many people don't know what it is, but that's okay. So I discovered, and I took some classes, that I have this ability to connect deeply with animals, and mostly I practice mostly with pets. So if you have a dog or a cat that you're having an issue with, I sit down remotely with them, usually through a picture, connect with their energy, and find out what's going on. So, if they're behaving in a way you don't want them to behave, some people call us pet psychics. We don't predict the future or anything, but we can find out like what's going on in their field. Is there something upsetting them? Are they in a habit? Is something, physically not feeling good with them? So I help people, I guess, with their relationships with their animals and help shift behaviors a little bit.
Okay,
And it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I can imagine it's different. And listen, if it's something you love doing and it's something, well, hey, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
how do you incorporate spirituality and animal communication into your coaching?
Yeah. I realize that probably sounds unusual too, but here's kind of how my view of the universe works. And so let's talk about some spiritual practices that are very common. So visualization, for example,
Yes.
or even the laws of expectation. But let's say visualization. So we put out into the universe what we want, right? We think about it. We see ourselves excelling at the meeting we're going into, or getting the raise from the boss, whatever it is that we want. We visualize that ahead of time, so we're prepared when we do that, and we hope that our vibration is matching that to make it happen. So the same thing sometimes with the animals. If someone has a cat that's not using the litter box, and they want it to use the litter box, then when I sit down and connect with a cat, I go through the same visualization process and show them that we want them to use the litter box, or show them that we want them to stop scratching on their furniture and to scratch on the scratching post instead. So there's a lot of things that are a spiritual practice that actually apply to how we relate to the animals. And when we don't realize it, we do it accidentally, just like life. Okay, so just like, if I'm putting negative thoughts out there about how broke I am and I never have any money at the end of the month, um, sometimes that's usually how it is, for mindset reasons, for energy reasons, all kinds of reasons. Same with the animals. We don't realize we're telling them to not do something. So we're giving them the negative form of, what we want them to do, and they don't understand. Because just like God in the universe, which is seeing basically a picture of what we want, when we say something, we're creating a picture of what we want. And the animals pick it up the same way we do. It's actually how they communicate with each other. One of the ways they communicate with each other. And so we can communicate with them that way as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, so how do you how do you help your clients overcome their personal struggles to unlock their full potential?
Um, Great question. So, and I should say that while I do work with animals, I don't work exclusively with people with animals. So, most of the people, though, um, at least, so let me back up just a little bit. I do often take people like on safari and start the process there, for example. But you don't have to be a person that likes animals or have animals, to work with me necessarily. It's just one of the ways I help people connect. Um, but I like to use a real holistic method. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of talk about mindset these days, which is really important,
Hmm.
but it's not the only thing. Excuse me. I just started losing my voice right before this. Um, it's not the only thing. I believe we need a more holistic, like, view of goal setting or of trying to achieve our dreams. And mindset is certainly a big part of it, the mind, but also the body. We need to learn how to check in with our emotions, with our energy and vibrations, and, just recognize the real physical parts of what our body is telling us. And of course, our body also has to take the movement for the inspired action that we get checking in with our soul or our spirit, our heart. So many times, I'm sure you've seen this with people, they achieve a goal and they're not happy still because it wasn't really their dream to start with. They might be influenced by others. They might have thought they always wanted it, but never really checked in to see if it was truly one of their personal dreams. So, incorporating everything into this process of, goal setting or what we want to go after, I think is really important. And then, you know, I I have like a whole implementation plan how we do this, which we can talk about if you want to. But I think if people would start to slow down and really listen to what their heart actually wants and start to make some movement towards that instead of what they think they want, what society has told them they want, what their parents have told them they want, or their spouse, it would make a big difference in our like happiness level or meaning, a meaningful life, success level.
Yeah. So how do you how do you have your clients approach setting and achieving goals?
Yeah. So I have what I call the evolve process, and it's a continual circle, really, or hopefully a spiral upwards. But starting with the emotions, so starting with the body part, what's not making you happy? And sometimes we think it's our whole life. Nothing's right, nothing's going right. I hate life. But really, if I have found that sometimes it's one thing that spills over into everything, or maybe two things that spills over. And once we can get that fixed, maybe some of the other things aren't so bad, or we work on those later. But so when do you feel the worst? Is it when you think about going to your job? Is it when you think about going to your a family reunion? Is it just really check in? And when do you feel the worst? When does the body feel like, I don't want to do this? And then from that space, so you know what you don't want, you want to stop feeling that way. And then sit and take time to actually so the V is vision, evolve, vision what you do want. So because maybe you don't want to quit your job. And actually, I read not too long ago in the newspaper, a whole bunch of people quit their job in the Great Resignation in the last
Yeah.
few years. And they have found that many of them aren't any happier. Okay, so they quit their jobs and now they're not any happier because maybe it wasn't quitting the job, and maybe what it wasn't getting a new job. Maybe it was the aspect of the job, or you know, it could be the people, it could be the details you're doing, it could be a lot of things. So what do you want? Sitting down and actually listening to, taking some meditation or some journaling or some contemplation, some kind of way to connect with the soul, with the spirit, um, what you do want. And then, so I believe once we figure out what we want, then we say out loud, like an affirmation statement, basically. Okay, what do I want? It's like, okay, I want a job where I'm respected and well paid. And saying that out loud, then I tell people just for a while, we allow the inner critic to come up for a minute and tell us why we can't have that. Why aren't we in that position right now? And this is where we get into some of the mindset work. Because when I say that, usually a whole bunch of reasons come up, right? Why I can't have it, why I'm not there. It's like, well, I don't know. I can't change my job. I need to go back to school. I don't have the connections, all kinds of excuses come up why we
Mhm.
can't get what it is we want. And those are what we need to pay attention to. So, starting the mindset work from there, as far as why we can't do that, I had a bunch of mindset work to do. So I had my own little, I call it a transformation year several years ago. And I had to work hard to overcome some of the things that now seem like ridiculous beliefs. I totally believed that as a single woman, I couldn't buy my own house. Not me, other people could, but for some reason I couldn't do it. So I had a lot of stuff to get over. But anyway, so start the mindset work. Why? And the one of the things is when we tell these stories to ourselves, they might seem true. So one of my stories was I have bad credit, okay? Or I mean it was good credit, but it wasn't, excellent or whatever, however they rank them.
Yeah.
So I figured I didn't have good enough credit. And if you look at it, that's a fact. It was a fact. It was, 600 something. But what my assumption was, the lie that I was telling myself is that I needed good credit to buy a house. And so sometimes we might say, but these are all facts. This is why it's not going to work. And these are facts. And sometimes the facts aren't really facts, they're assumptions. It was an assumption that I needed a down payment
Yeah.
and I didn't have one because people have always said that, but it turned out I didn't need a down payment. So anyway, so doing mindset work, even on the things that we think are facts, because the universe has a million ways to make things happen once we start being open to it. And then, so EVOL, so out loud, and then listen to the inner critic, and then the volition, putting into action um, a plan. So taking inspired action every day. And that means listening to our soul's input, listening to our heart's input, however you want to say it, listening to God, whatever we're being told to do to take action on that plan, put it into action and do it. Actually do it. Do your spiritual practice, whether it's meditation or gratitude or forgiveness or, whatever the practice is, whatever the physical action is, to do it. And then um, execute everything. So do it, make a commitment to it, and then we start over and we check in with the emotions. How's it going? Is this still the right direction I want to go? Or maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I discovered I don't actually like it as well as I thought I did. So always checking in, and it's kind of a continual process to bring it. And I just, I think it's important to pay attention to the process because I think we all deserve to live, a certain amount of happiness or contentment, or um, to get out of the struggle, you know? So,
So what are some of the things you do personally to help you adapt with the times? How is it that you what is it that you do that evolve so that you can help your clients and
yeah,
customers
yeah. I, um, well, I'm a forever student, so I'm always,
learning?
yeah.
Yeah.
I, since I've started doing podcasts, I have so many saved ones to listen to all the time. There's so many great podcasts to listen to that have great information out there. But I also like, to read books and watch videos and stuff. But I have a morning practice that I have had for at least 5 or 6, 7 years now, that I just kind of check in with, um, I call it my leadership team, and what's going on, what should I do today, what do I need to know, basically. And it's really important to me to have some quiet time, partly for that, and partly just to be still, I guess, be in the stillness. And and I like to pay attention to signs, like coincidences, um, little things that happen, and see how, if there's any meaning to it. There may or may not be meaning to it, or there might be, but I don't know what it is. But to just to help me know which direction to go. I feel like I usually have a pretty good sense of where I'm going, which way I'm heading, but it's always nice to check in and get feedback on that, because sometimes I get messages that, it's like, really, I should do that. I'll try it. I don't know. Actually, so I also have a podcast, and it was a direct result of, some guidance I got in in my morning routine one time.
So
So,
how long have you been podcasting?
not very long. I started about 6, 7 months ago. It's been
Oh,
in, but I would say it's been in mind and in progress for about a year. So it took me a while to actually do it.
well, what was it that delayed the process?
Mindset.
Because
you know,
it's
um,
funny because I had wanted to start my podcast since 2019, and I had purchased the equipment and everything. I had set up an account on Podbean and forgot about it, and
oh,
I just had the equipment on there. And then so when I get furloughed from my job in 2020 because of the pandemic, I had this equipment here, and I would mess with it, but I would just record and delete, record and delete, record and delete until I finally decided to press record and
oh,
upload it. And so that's how I started. And it was a 5-minute episode, and with each episode it grows. And now I do video because I started strictly audio, so now I do
right,
audio and
right.
video. So
Yeah. And it's great, isn't it? I mean,
also,
yeah, I waited because, who's going to listen? And what am
and
I going to say?
that's those exact words are the same words that I would use.
Hmm.
Was like, oh, who's gonna want to listen to me? I sound horrible. Oh, please, nobody's gonna tune in. And
Uh,
and at first they didn't,
yeah,
but then as I kept wanting to grow and learn and started seeking out information, what kind of mic do I need? What kind of program helps me with my editing? What camera should I? Once I started checking that out and really get deep diving into that, it was like, okay, this. All right, I see this now. All right,
yeah,
the more. the more I did it, the more I improved. With each episode, you
Exactly.
can see the difference. You can, and my nephew was like, "No, when I first did the first episode, he was like, we shouldn't release it." I was like, "Why not?" He was like, "No, let's practice. We need to be perfect." And I'm like, "Nah, let's really. I want people to see the growth. I want them to see where we started at to where we're at now,
Yeah.
to where I started at from. I started doing solo episodes, and I didn't enjoy them so much because it wasn't the content wasn't the energy of the content wasn't what I wanted. And so when I switched it more to an interview based show and started having these great conversations with people, that's when the show really started. This is what I want to do.
Right.
This is the kind of show I want to have, where I have people come on, share their stories, and who knows who out there is listening to the story, and it might benefit them.
Yeah.
They might take something from this, and it happens. People send me messages saying, "Hey, thank you for this episode. Thank you for that episode."
Isn't
So
that
to
awesome?
have that, it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree. So, I started almost solo for every show, and now I'm doing a lot more interviews, and it's so it's so fun, and it's so great making connections. It's so great
Yes.
talking to people and learning something from, all my guests. It's
It- it-
fantastic.
oh no, 'cause even when I and there was at one point I was like kind of feeling bad because I was because like you said, I was learning from people and I was like, oh man, should I feel selfish that I'm wanting to speak to these people and have these interviews and learn? And one of my guests pointed out to me, like, no, that's not being selfish. That's you self-loving yourself. And the fact that you're sharing it with your audience, there's nothing selfish about what you're doing.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you know how your mind works. It
Yeah.
tries to trick you and make you feel bad, but
Yeah.
it just my guest was like, no, what you're doing is the complete opposite.
Yeah. I actually interviewed one of my friends not long ago, and I put off editing it till the last minute because I thought, "Oh, it's going to take a lot of editing because she's a friend and I'm sure we laughed and we talked and stuff." But when I went back and finally looked at it to release it, it's like it's perfect. It's like we were totally at home and comfortable
Mhm.
with each other, and it took very little editing. I think it's, a great episode. So, um, yeah, enjoy the people you're interviewing because I think that's really important.
It is,
Yeah.
and it makes it much easier. And that's another reason I go live now is to save on the editing because once I go live, it
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah. Exactly.
what am I gonna erase? Is it happens? I take the audio and I upload it, but
Right.
I look at it as it gives me time to do other things as well. So yeah, it's funny because I enjoy editing other people's because I do it for a living. But when it comes to mine, I'm like, let me just save time on it and get it out and but it works. It works. I have a great time doing it. And, I love the guests that I've had. This past year has just been amazing. Just
Mm-hmm.
with some of the guests that I've been able to have on the show, and it's really helped. Really, and it's because when I first started, I didn't really have a niche. I didn't have a certain type of guest. I was all over the
Right.
map. I had
Right.
celebrities, actors, comedians. But then when I decided to focus on bringing more entrepreneurs, coaches, teachers, those episodes are really the ones that really started building me up and me wanting to learn about branding and marketing and all this other stuff. It's helped me grow as a businessman because being able to speak to these people and learn from them and be able to and
Yeah.
take the things that you learn and apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So you do production now,
Yes,
right? You're a producer. I
yes.
mean, You would have never guessed in 2019. It's like, okay, let's start a podcast so I can become a producer, right? With
It was not in my, it was not a thought. It was not
yeah,
something that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start podcasting. I'm gonna start producing other people's podcasts.
yeah.
It wasn't something that I'm like, but
Well,
I found my purpose, and I enjoy doing it. It was something to be able to it's my therapy now.
right.
It's my way of being able to express myself, because I get to be myself when I'm behind the mic, and when I'm with interviewing my guests.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's why. So you just kind of went with the flow. You went with how you felt. You know, you were feeling good, and you just kept moving with it. When I started doing more guest episodes, and well, just doing more episodes, period. First, I was releasing them like once every 2 weeks or so. I decided, you know what? This is a lot of fun. I'm just going to keep doing this because something, if I'm doing what I love, something good is going to show up.
Yeah,
You know, not that there's not good or a lot of things that aren't good in my life right now, but something I love is going to show up. And I don't know where it's taking me. I'm loving doing the podcast, so we'll just see where it goes. But yeah.
no. Before I started my podcast, honestly, I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know what it was I was supposed to do, or what was meant for me. And when I started podcasting, and I finally got the courage and released the first episode, it just released so much off, like lifted this big weight off of me. Like, okay, look,
Hmm.
you did it. Here, you released it. It didn't kill you. You're fine. You're still here
Right.
standing. What's the problem? Let's get it going. And I've been grinding ever since.
Yeah,
It's been an amazing journey. I've released episode 186 on my audio podcast
that's amazing.
this past Monday. Um, and actually, in the past 5 months, I've I've actually more than doubled my audience,
Oh, wow.
and
Congratulations.
doubled my downloads.
That's
And
fantastic.
like I said, it's because this last year alone, it's been the guests that I've been bringing on the show. You're an energy person, so you know the vibrations. So the energy that you put out there attracts the guests that you want.
Right.
And I've
Right.
been blessed to have those amazing guests that come on, and the chemistry's there, the energy's there, just flowing. You're able to have a great conversation as if you've known each other for years, and you
Yeah.
just met just a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's so true. It's well, my podcast is called the Connectedness Podcast because I believe in all this connection. So,
Yes.
yeah, you're definitely speaking my language. And just to go back, though, you were talking about finding your purpose. And I think it's interesting because obviously, if you had felt like you found your purpose 10 years ago, it changes because, there were probably podcasts 10 years ago, but certainly not like there are today. And so I think these things change for us, and being aware of it and paying attention to what is drawing you next is important. Not that you couldn't be happy being in production the rest of your life, maybe, but probably something more, something bigger is
Mhm.
going to call to you eventually also.
and
So,
and it is, it has, it's opening. It was okay. So people want to rush to get, they want to get their podcast monetized, and all this other stuff. And I've come to learn that I've been able to monetize the skills that I've learned from podcasting.
uh-huh.
So I don't necessarily need sponsors for my shows. I've developed skills that I can offer my services to other people now, and charge the price I want to charge, because
Yeah.
nobody wants to do it. People don't want to spend time editing, don't want to spend time clipping videos, and and I enjoy doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Have you ever read what's the book, The Big Leap? Gay Hendricks. It's about having a zone of excellence and a zone of genius. So essentially, there's four zones. Two of them we don't like for well to work in. Zone of excellence is something we're really good at, but we don't like it. So we usually stay in jobs in our zone of excellence because we're really good at it and we don't know how we ever make that much money. But our zone of genius is where we love it and we succeed at it. And very few of us make that leap to the zone of genius to where we love what we're doing and we're supported by it.
yeah,
So, yeah. So if your zone of genius right now is editing, you know, podcasts, videos, fantastic, or audios, you
yeah,
know, because you're right, it's not for everyone.
it is not. No, it is not.
Good for you. Yeah, lots of business.
Oh no, it's been great, and then again, I've learned so many different other things as well. I've learned how been learning about automation, how to automate the whole process of the podcast getting out, sending out emails to building an email list, learning how to build an email list. So many different things that I've learned as a podcaster that I can apply to a business. So
Mm,
it's just it's a blessing to being able to do what I love and learn other skills and talents to help me further along.
yeah, yeah. I'm curious, are you a teacher at all? Are these skills you'd want to teach other people, or you just like doing it yourself?
No, it's I love teaching. I love being able to help people, and so when people ask me with certain things on how to podcast or editing issues, I'm more than willing to show people how to do it. So that's why I mean it's opened up other avenues for me where eventually I know eventually the ultimate goal is to get into coaching as far as
Hmm.
doing podcasts and creating shows.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. So, can I turn the tables here for a little bit? So,
Let's go. Let's
do
do
you
this.
have a practice that you like to do as far as energy or connection with the world or the universe?
So when I get up in the morning, I because I have to be at work at 4 in the morning, so I'm up by 2. So from 2:15 to 2:30 is I sit down and I'll wash up and brush my teeth and have my cup of coffee and just sit down and just focus on what I want my day to be like.
Yeah,
And then after that, I start shower, get in my shower, get ready for work, and send out whatever emails or whatever stuff I need to prepare for that day because I work 4 to 12. So when I get out at 12, I come home, take a nap, and I start getting ready for my show for that day. So yeah, so I have a little routine that I work on,
yeah,
but it wasn't always like that.
yeah.
When I first started, it was nothing like that. It was no structure to it whatsoever. I was just recording and just recording and recording. I had no structure, no scheduling, just
But you started.
yes, that was the key. That was the key. And that's one of the things when people talk about visualization doesn't work is because okay, when you visualize it, yes, it's there, you see it. But if you don't start putting in the work to it, it's not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than just visualizing it. You have to actually put in the work. You have to really take that step and take that risk.
Right, right. Yeah, totally. Putting the movement, the action in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice.
All right. So how do you help your clients identify the values and align their goals with those values?
Mm, yeah. Um, I will say for some people, they resist it a little bit. And it sometimes it takes time. So many people say I can't sit down and be quiet and clear my mind and try to figure out, what what I'm being what my divine wisdom is telling me to do. And I think there's a lot of, I guess, expectation and myths about what it means to meditate or to sit down and be quiet. We think we have to have this nothing in our head, which isn't true at all.
No.
Everyone has thoughts coming in our head all the time, no matter what we're doing. It's just a matter of how we respond to it, and how we try to move forward. So I actually I so I think at first a really good way to do it, and I actually still do this a lot, is I record my own little guided meditation for the morning. Because sometimes when I sit down in my chair, I just start thinking about everything. There's a lot of life going on right now. And so it's not I sometimes I have a hard time focusing on what I should be focusing on. So I record a meditation for myself, and I just kind of walk myself in this meditation through, what's my dream, see myself achieving my dream. What's the steps to take now? What's the stories? Why haven't I done this by now? And I also offer this to other people. They can have my meditation, or I recommend recording their own, because it's so much easier when, like I said, those times of life just come up and you can't even think about anything, to just hit the play button and just sit and listen and just go through, listen to the meditation. Or at least for me, it's easier. So my point was, though, sometimes that's what other people need as well. And I like to have it guided in a special way, um, so that I don't flat out ask, what is your purpose? What is my goal? It's not something like that.
Yeah.
It's from the point of, you've already achieved it. So you're here. You are this person that you think you want to be. Um, how did you get there? What did it take to get there? Because it's amazing what things will come up when we can get our little thinking brain out of the way, um, and just, being quiet in those few moments. Although I have to tell you, so I get up at 5 or 5:30. Getting up at 2 o'clock and doing something like that, I don't know if I'd stay awake. Do you ever have problems, or are you so used to it by now that it's no problem?
So you know what? It's because naps are my favorite, are my best friends. So when I get home from work, I'll come
Yeah,
home and I'll take a nap, and then I'll do the rest of what I have to do to prepare for the
yeah,
show. But yeah,
nice, nice.
I'm up, but I do believe in naps. Believe me.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. Um, and sorry, I just had to ask that. Just an aside, I wanted to ask that. But so that's one of the ways I help people. The other thing I think is important, and I want to make sure I say this, because again, some people think we have to meditate and we don't. Um, Journaling is a way, writing down a question, and, leave the pen on the paper. Don't stop writing. But to the people that are writers and journalers, I suggest they do something different. So I suggest they paint, or they start talking. So turn on the recorder on the voice phone, or the voice recorder on the phone, and just start talking about something, because sometimes our brain is expecting certain things when we're writing, if we're a writer. So if we already do that a lot, we might not get to our divine wisdom as easy as if we just start, you know, taking a paintbrush to paper, because it's something you don't do. So you have to allow a different kind of wisdom come in through you. And so I always recommend people try things that they don't do all the time and see what happens. And, you know, it might lead to podcasting. It might be to being a writer. It might lead to being an artist. You never know. But that's not the goal here. The goal is to get divine inspiration and what our next steps is, or what, what our dreams are. But even gardening, something like that. So just some kind of creative connection with spirit.
And it's funny that because prior to podcasting, I wouldn't say wouldn't consider myself a creative type or whatever, which is not true because back when I was younger, I enjoyed drawing and stuff. But once I started podcasting, it's like these creative juices just started flowing, and I started doing graphic design, and I started doing all these different things. And all it took was for me to believe that I was capable of doing something, believing in myself that
Mm,
I was creative, I was capable of creating something, and so it's being able to express yourself in a way.
yeah,
So yeah, so yeah, if you're a writer, maybe take a paintbrush and paint it on. So for me, it was being able to speak and express myself verbally.
right. Were you a, did you do that much before? Were you much of a talker before?
No,
No, me either.
I found myself talk. When I find myself talking when I was having interesting conversations where knowledge was being exchanged.
Okay.
So I've found myself to be more, yes, as far as conversations go, yes, but yeah, I didn't consider myself someone who's always talking all the time. No,
Right,
now I
right.
do, but yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And you had mentioned Canva before, and you were just talking about doing some of the graphics and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great creative outlet, and I love Canva. It's so much fun.
The background, Canva.
Oh,
Well,
is that right?
yeah, that background. I have it in the background. I use Canva to make it.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Huh.
Uh, a couple of intro videos that I've done for people, I've used Canva. It's just it's a great tool to use. I'm someone when someone tells me about a tool or something that'll help improve or make life easier for me as far as my podcast goes.
Hmm.
I start going into it. I'll be looking videos, find out how to use it, the best way to use it, whatever, how to create them. I'm always YouTube is a great teacher for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, YouTube is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I've learned so much. If there's something if it's a piece of equipment that I'm using and I don't know how to use it properly, I am watching a video on YouTube.
Yeah. We have a lot of information available. It's great to be able to
To
have
use, yeah,
access
to
and
have
put it
access
to
to it.
use.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. I love it.
But now is a time where you get the solo layout and you get to plug away and let people know where they can find you,
All right.
website, everything.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks. So my website is revkarencleveland.com. And on there, you will find a couple of free resources. So if you don't have any kind of a spiritual practice or a morning routine and you want to figure out how to start something, I have a free ebook on there called seven short and simple spiritual practices that will change your life, because it just takes a couple of minutes a day to start changing your life if there's something you want to shift in your life. So you can pick that up at revkarencleveland.com /gift. And I have a few other free things on there as well that I can't remember. If you like animals, check me out. And I have different animal communication classes. I do take people on safari, which is a fantastic transformational experience, in addition to being, a trip of a lifetime bucket list item. And I look forward to connecting with anyone and everyone later. So you can find just about everything at revkarencleveland.com, including my YouTube, my podcast, um, my free gifts. Everything is there. And thank you. It's been great to be here today.
Oh, no, thank you. So how many times do you take people out to safari a year?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I can't believe it. The first time I went on safari, it's like, okay, I'm going to check this item off and tell, I have great pictures, had a good time. But um, I, um, so I've taken 2 trips. Well, I've taken several. I've been to Kenya 5 or 6 times. I'm taking another group of 16 people in September. Next year we'll be going back. I'm not sure what month yet, but have you ever been?
No.
I mean, you don't have to like animals. it's 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 an amazing experience, and not only the animals, but even being if someone is not used to being in a world where there isn't always running water or electricity and stuff. It brings up a lot in us Westerners often, and even for me. But yeah, so we're going for almost 2 weeks this time in September. And I mean, I like it. So full disclosure, I met a man and married on my very first safari. We got married. He lives here in the States with me, but he has some great resources that I use to take people back there. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Oh man, that's dope. To be able to take people on safari, that's amazing. And who did you didn't even think you didn't think that would be something like you would be doing, right?
never, never. I always wanted to go on
Yeah.
safari, but that was never a goal of mine to take other people on safari. And it wasn't until the end of the first safari I was like, I think I should bring people back here because, I mean, it was every day of that trip was magical. It just got more and more magical. And so, yeah, other people need to experience this.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you for being a guest. I greatly appreciate it. Don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But it's been a
fantastic.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure to having you on the show.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
All right. And now it is time for shout outs. Big shout outs to everybody who's watching at home. If you catch us on the replay, thank you. A big shout out to Ben from the BS3 Network. How's it going, Ben? Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady Fina. Love you, and appreciate you, babe. Big shout out to our guest, Karen Cleveland, for coming through and having a great conversation. Thank you. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how Wise does it. Peace out.